Hey folks, I'm Becky with Enduring Finances. Welcome to my channel. Today we're continuing on with our Lime update for 2024. On Tuesday I dropped a video that broke down how to charge scooters and bikes and do all of that menial tasks for Lime in 2024. So it gives you a little bit of an update of what's going on. It takes you through the basics of different tasks such as moving the scooters and swapping out the batteries. So feel free to check that out if that's something that you're interested in doing. So today we're taking a look at all of the information that I could find through the Lime app itself on how much Lime is paying in each city in the United States for the various tasks, because I think this is something that is interesting to know and also important to know if this is something that you're considering doing, how much you could potentially be earning per task in your area, and if your task rate in your city is below the average, which I've also calculated. And these numbers are going to be based off of this last weekend. I pulled the majority of the data on the 26th of May and then filled in a couple things on the 27th as well, just trying to get as much information as I could. That being said, I'm not able to find all of the information. So there are some cities, well, the majority of the cities where there's going to be a gap on some of the rates as far as task goes. Maybe I couldn't find a bike that was up for moving yet, and so I couldn't get its cost on that, or I couldn't figure out how much it costs to deploy a scooter out into the area. So there's going to be some holes in that, but overall I'm just giving you the best information that I can find, because we all know that Lime does not make it the easiest for you to find the information, and I think information is crucial. On Lime's website, it lists 56 different cities in the United States that it operates in. Some of those I don't think is actually operating in anymore. I couldn't find any information whatsoever on any scooters or bikes operating in the area anymore. And there are some scooters that we identified last year when I did the same breakdown that are running that have not been posted on the website. And then I was able to identify 12 new cities, potentially new cities that have been added to the market of Lime. And so in total, there are 74 cities that I'm going to touch base on. Again, some of them don't have anything going on that I could find, and some of them are brand new. We're going to do essentially the best way that I can think of this is alphabetical through state. So we'll start with Alabama and work our way down to Wisconsin. And straightforward with that, you can jump ahead. I'll make time marks for each one of the states, and then you can find the city within that. And just before we start on this, I want to make sure that everybody's aware that Lime changes these rates at a whim, essentially. So these rates might not be the same as what you are seeing in your app when you're looking at it right now, because they fluctuate, and I cannot be 100% guaranteed that it's going to maintain the same even as you're watching this video. Another thing is, if you're working for a logistics partner, they might be paying you a different rate because they get paid by Lime, and then they pay their employees, their contractors out of that. So this might be a little bit different from what you're getting from your logistics partner that you're working for, but I'm giving the information that I can gather to hopefully help you anyways. So let's jump into this 74 monstrosity list of cities in the United States that Lime is operating in. Alright, so before we jump into all of the cities and states, let's just look at the current average breakdown that I'm seeing across the board for all of these tasks. As far as battery swaps, I am seeing an average of $3.08 per scooter, $2 on average to charge the scooter, $3.26 to move a scooter, $4.10 to retrieve a scooter, and $2.45 to deploy a scooter, and that is the average based off of all of these rates that I've gathered. As far as bikes, it is $3.24 to swap a battery, $4.22 to move a bike, $4.80 to retrieve a bike, and $3.28 to deploy a bike. So those are the averages based off of all the cities data that I could find. Just to kind of keep that in mind for you. First off, we have Alabama. We have Birmingham, Alabama, and this is marked with a little asterisk because this is one that has been established as a city operating scooters, but is not on Lime's website. Same with Mobile, I think I'm saying that right, Mobile, Alabama. It's identified by 3 asterisks because it is a new city that I just happened across this year, that I can verify that they are running Lime scooters in that. So that's how we're going to do it down. 1 asterisk is not on Lime website, but I've known about it, and 3 is brand new cities that are not on Lime's website that I just found this last year, so they could have been operating for longer, but who knows. So we'll start with Birmingham. They are doing charging just as well as mobile. I don't know. Don't hate if I say the name wrong. But for Birmingham, they're doing $4 to charge, $3 to move, and $6 to retrieve. And as far as bikes, we've got $3 to swap batteries there, and then $10 to retrieve those bikes. As far as Mobile, Alabama, we're looking at $4.50 to charge a scooter, $3.50 to move, and then $6 to retrieve that same scooter. Moving on to Arizona, both of these are not on Lime's website. We have Phoenix, which is paying $3 per a battery swap, $3 to move, and then $4 to retrieve a scooter, $3 to swap a bike battery, and then $4 to retrieve a bike. And then it's going to be the exact same thing across the board for Scottsdale. They're almost on top of each other, so it could just be one city, but I think it's two just based off their distance. So for Scottsdale, I'm seeing $3 for a battery swap for bikes and scooters, $3 to move a scooter, $4 to retrieve a scooter, $4 to retrieve a bike. Moving on to Little Rock, Arkansas, we can see that they are paying $3.50 to swap out a battery, $3.50 to move a scooter, and $4 to retrieve a scooter. As far as California goes, we're going to start with Lake Tahoe, which is a new one that I have found. It's right on the border of Nevada and California, so I'm marking it as California just because where I'm seeing everything is on the California side. And this is a brand new one. They are paying $3.25 per battery swap, $3.25 to move a scooter, $4 to retrieve a scooter, and then $1.50 to deploy a scooter out into the city. As far as Long Beach, also a new one that I have discovered, they are paying $3.75 to swap out a battery, $3 to move a scooter, and $3.50 to retrieve a scooter. As far as Los Angeles, we are paying $2.75 to swap out a battery, $3 to move a scooter, $3.50 to retrieve a scooter, $2.75 to swap out a battery on a bike, $4 to move the bike, and $5 to retrieve that bike. Moving right down the line, we have Oakland, California, where they are doing charging still, paying $5.75 per scooter that you charge. They are paying $1.50 to move a scooter and $3.50 to retrieve a scooter. And I know for sure that they are not operating bikes in that area just based off of Lime's website and all the breakdowns that they share. As far as Sacramento, California, they are paying $3 to change a battery, $3.50 to move a scooter, $4 to retrieve a scooter, $3 to change a bike battery, and then what I'm showing is essentially 1 cent to retrieve a bike in that area. And this could just be an error on what I'm seeing in the app itself, or it could just be the way they have it set up is being paid out and the logistics partner is paying something different. I'm not sure on that, so if you have knowledge on that, I'd love to hear about it. Then we have San Diego, and like last year, they're not showing a lot of data there. Most of it is on the Mexico side of the border in Tijuana, and so I really think that's where it's focused at and not so much on San Diego. The only thing that you're seeing there are retrieves, which are $5 a pop, and there's only a couple. The majority of the scooters are south of the border. And then we have San Francisco, which on the website, Slime's website is showing that it is operating Gen 4 scooters and Gen 3 scooters, but I could only see battery swaps for 1 cent. Nothing about charging the scooters. $2.50 to move a scooter, $3.50 to retrieve a scooter, and $2.50 to deploy a scooter out in the city. And then there are no bikes operating in that area. San Jose is up next. They are paying $4.25 to charge a scooter, $2 to move a scooter, $3.50 to retrieve a scooter, and $2 to deploy a scooter. And then last but not least, we have Santa Barbara, California, where they're paying $4 for a battery swap, 1 cent to move a scooter. I know, it could be an error, I don't know. $3.25 to retrieve a scooter, $4 to swap batteries for the bike, and $4 to retrieve a bike as well. Moving on to Colorado, we're going to start with Boulder, Colorado, where they are paying $3.25 to swap out a battery, $4 to move a scooter, $5 to retrieve a scooter, and there are no bikes in Boulder. For Colorado Springs, we are seeing $3.50 per battery swap, $4 for a move task on a scooter, and then $3.50 on a bike battery swap as well. For Denver, Colorado, we are saying $3.25 per battery swap for a scooter, I should say. $3.25 to move a scooter, $4.25 to retrieve a scooter, and $2 to deploy a scooter. And then they're showing $4 for a battery swap for a bike, $4.25 to move a bike, and then $4.75 to retrieve a bike, $2 to deploy a bike into the city. And then last but not least is Grand Junction, which is a brand new one that I came across, where they are paying $3.50 for a battery swap, and then $3.50 to move a scooter, and that's all the information that I could find on it. Moving to Florida, we have Jacksonville, which is not on Lime's website. They are showing $2.50 per battery swap, $2.50 to move a scooter, $2 to retrieve a scooter. As far as Orlando goes, they are paying $2.50 to change out a battery, $3 to move a scooter, and $2.50 to deploy a scooter. As far as bikes go, they're paying $2.50 per battery swap, $3 to move the scooter, $3.50 to retrieve a scooter. And then we have Sand Lake, Florida, which is a brand new one that popped up. They are paying $3 per battery swap and $3.50 to move a scooter. And then St. Petersburg, which is also a brand new one that popped up on my radar. The only thing that I'm showing here is that they are only operating bikes. I can't confirm that 100%, but it looks like they're just operating bikes. And they are paying $2.50 per battery swap, $3.50 to move the bike, $4 to retrieve the bike. And then Tampa, Florida, where they are also, I think, just operating bikes, really close to these guys, is $2.50 per battery swap, $2.50 per move, $4 for a retrieve of the bike, and $2.50 to deploy that bike as well. And then we move up to Georgia, and we'll start with Atlanta, where they're paying $3 a battery swap, $3.50 to move a scooter, $3.50 to retrieve a scooter, $3 to swap out a battery for a bike, $4.50 to move the bike, $5 to retrieve the bike, and $4 to deploy that bike. And then Statesboro, Georgia, which is listed on Lime's website, but I could not find anything showing that there is still Lime scooters and bikes operating there. So if you know anything, please let me know. Moving up to Idaho, where I am, we have Boise, where they are paying right now $3 for a battery swap, $3.75 to move a scooter, $3.50 to retrieve a scooter, $4 to deploy a scooter, $3 to swap out a bike battery, $4.50 to move a bike, $5 to retrieve a bike, and $5 to deploy a bike. On to Illinois, we have Chicago, where they're paying $3.40 to swap out a battery, $4.10 to move a scooter, $4 to retrieve a scooter, and $2.50 to deploy a scooter into the city. Moving over to Indiana, we have Bloomington, where they are doing charging scooters, $5.25 a pop to manually charge a scooter, $3.50 to move a scooter, $4 to retrieve a scooter, and they have transitioned to bikes as well, where they're paying $5.50 to do a battery swap on a bike, and $5.25 to retrieve a bike. Then we have Evansville, Indiana, which I am not finding any information on again as well, and this is listed on Lime's website. And then, of course, Indianapolis, Indiana, where they're paying $3 for a battery swap, $3.25 to move a scooter, $4 to retrieve a scooter, and $2 to deploy a scooter into the city. Moving on to Kansas City, Kansas, which is a brand new baby that I came across. And this is on the Kansas side, not the Missouri side, even though they're right next to each other. They are paying out $3.50 for a battery swap, and then $4 to retrieve a scooter, $3.50 to swap out a bike battery, and $4 to retrieve a bike as well. So a little bit of information there. That's a big city to jump into, so I assume this will stay on as long as the city approves of it. Moving to Louisville, Kentucky, they are paying $2.50 for battery swaps, $3.50 to move a scooter, $2.75 to retrieve a scooter, and then $3 to deploy a scooter out to the city. Up to Baltimore, Maryland, and I could only find a little bit of information in this city, and that is retrieving scooters for $4.25. I think they had like 1 or 2 scooters in the city, and that was it. They did have bikes operating the last time that I checked, but I couldn't find any information on it. So this city is not doing so hot and might be shutting down its Lime operations. Moving up to Michigan, we have Detroit, where they're paying $3 per battery swap, $4 to move and retrieve a scooter, and then $1.50 to deploy a scooter, and they do not have any bikes operating in Detroit. As far as Grand Rapids, they are paying $2.70 per battery swap, $3 to move a scooter, $5 to retrieve a scooter, $1.75 to deploy a scooter, $2.70 to swap out a bike battery, $3.75 to move a bike, $5 to retrieve a bike, and $2.50 to deploy a bike. And then Lansing, Michigan, where they are paying $4 to swap out batteries, and they also have charging, so you can get paid $5.50 to charge a single scooter. You get paid $3 to move a scooter, $4 to retrieve a scooter. So they are double dipping in this market, but like I said, we're going to see that transition from charging scooters to actually just swapping out the batteries in the future. Up to Minneapolis, Minnesota, which is a brand new one that has popped up. They are paying $3 for a battery swap, $3.50 to move a scooter, $4 to retrieve a scooter, $3 to deploy a scooter, and then $3 to battery swap for a bike, $4.50 to move a bike, and $5 to retrieve a bike. And just a reminder, check out my video that I put out on Tuesday that breaks down all of these different tasks for you. So if you're interested in doing it. Moving right along, we have Missouri. We have Carthage, which is a brand new one that popped up. And the only thing that I could see is they have battery swaps going on with scooters for $3.50. And then we have St. Louis, Missouri, where they are charging scooters and paying out $4.75 per scooter, $3.25 to move the scooter, and $3.75 to retrieve a scooter. On to Nebraska, we have Lincoln, which is not on Lime's website, but we've been tracking it. They're paying out $2.50 for a battery swap, $4 to move a scooter, $4 to retrieve a scooter, and $3 to deploy a scooter. And then we have Omaha, where they're paying out $2.50 to swap a battery, $4.25 to move a scooter, and $2.75 to retrieve a scooter. Moving on to New York. New York only has scooters operating in it. They do not have any bikes running in the city. And they are paying $3.50 for a battery swap, $4 to move a scooter, $5.50 to retrieve a scooter, and $2.50 to deploy that scooter. And then we have Rochester, New York, where I could not find any information that Lime is still operating in that city, even though it says so on their website. Moving out east to North Carolina, we have Charlotte, where they are paying $3 for a battery swap, $4 to move and retrieve scooters, and $3 to deploy. And then we have Raleigh/Durham, they're really close together, where they're paying $2.50 per battery swap, $3.50 to move a scooter, $3.25 to retrieve a scooter, and then $1.50 to deploy a scooter. Moving on to Ohio, we have Cincinnati, where they are paying $3.25 for a battery swap, $3 to move a scooter, $3.50 to retrieve a scooter, and $2 to deploy a scooter. And we have Cleveland, where they are charging scooters and operating bikes. They're paying $5 to charge a scooter, $4 to retrieve, $1.25 to deploy a scooter. As far as bikes, they are paying $4.50 to do a battery swap, $4.50 to move and retrieve those bikes, and then $2 to deploy those bikes. And then Columbus, Ohio, where they're paying $3.25 to swap out batteries, $3.25 to move the scooter, $4 to retrieve the scooter, and $2 to deploy the scooter. On to Oklahoma, we have Bartlesville, where they are paying $3.50 to swap out batteries and $4 to retrieve those scooters. Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, where they are paying $3.50 for a battery swap, $4.50 to move, retrieve, and deploy those scooters in the city. So that's a good market right there. And then Tulsa, Oklahoma, where they are paying $3.50 to swap out batteries, and then $4 to move, retrieve, and deploy those batteries as well. Out west to Oregon, we have Portland, which operates solely with scooters and no bikes. They are paying $3.50 per battery swap, $4.50 to move and retrieve those scooters, and then $2.75 to deploy those scooters into the city. On to South Carolina, we have Charleston, which operates on bikes only, where they're paying $2.50 for a battery swap, and then $4.50 to move and retrieve those bikes, and then $4 to deploy those bikes into the city. Over to Nashville, Tennessee, they are paying $3.50 for battery swaps, $4 to move a scooter, $4.50 to retrieve a scooter, $3.50 to swap out that bike battery, $4.50 to move a bike, and $6 to retrieve a bike. Down to Texas, we have Austin, where they are paying $2.50 to swap out batteries, $3 to move, retrieve, and deploy those scooters in the city. And then as far as bikes go, they are paying $2.50 to swap out batteries for the bike, $3.50 to move a bike, and $4 to retrieve a bike. Then we move to Corpus Christi, Texas, down south. They are paying $3.75 to charge each one of those scooters, $2 to move a scooter, $3.25 to retrieve a scooter, and then $1.25 to deploy a scooter. Then we move to Dallas, Texas, which is a big boy, and a new one that has popped up. So that's a good market for them to jump into. They are currently paying out $2.50 per battery swap for the scooters, $2.75 to move a scooter, $4 to retrieve a scooter, and $2.75 to deploy a scooter. Then we move down to Edinburgh, Texas, where I'm showing that they are paying $4 to charge a single scooter and $3.50 to retrieve a scooter. Last year, Lime was showing up in Houston, Texas. It's never been on their website, but I was not able to find any of their information there, so they might not be operating in Houston anymore. But they are still operating in Lubbock, Texas, where they are paying $3.25 to charge a scooter, $1 to move a scooter, and $2 to retrieve a scooter. And then another new city is Plano, I think that's how you say it, Texas, where they are paying $3.20 to charge a scooter and $4 to retrieve a scooter. Moving up to Utah, we have Ogden, where they are paying $3 to swap out a battery, $3.50 to move a scooter, and $3 to retrieve. For Provo, we are saying $3.25 to swap out a battery and $4 to move a scooter. As far as Salt Lake City goes, they are paying $3 for a battery swap, $2.50 to move a scooter, $3.75 to retrieve, and then $3 to deploy a scooter as well. Jumping over to Virginia, we have Hampton, Virginia, where it's showing on Lime's website that they're operating just like with Roanoke. I don't know how to say it. Both of these cities are not showing any information on the map of scooters operating, but they are listed on Lime's website. So let's just jump right down to Norfolk, Virginia, where they are paying $2.70 per battery swap, $4.25 to move a scooter, $4.50 to retrieve a scooter, and $1.75 to deploy a scooter. As far as bikes go, they are paying $2.70 per battery swap, $5 to move a scooter, $6 to retrieve a broken scooter. This is bike, by the way, $6 for a bike, and then $3 to deploy a bike. Moving to Richmond, Virginia, they are paying $3.25 to swap out batteries, $4 to move and retrieve those scooters. Jumping down to Washington, D.C., they are paying $3.25 for battery swaps, $5 for moving and retrieving scooters, and $3.50 for deploying those scooters out of the city. As far as bikes go, they are paying $3.25 per battery swap, $6 for moving and retrieving those bikes, and then $5 for deploying the bikes into the city. Back over to the west coast, we're going to go with Washington, starting off with Airway Heights. The only thing I'm seeing right here is 1 or 2 move tasks for $2 and retrieve tasks for $8 with scooters. Not a lot going on there. Then we have Newport, where they're showing $3 for a battery swap, $2 to move a scooter, and $5 to retrieve a scooter. As far as Seattle goes for Washington, they're paying $4.50 for a battery swap, $4.50 to move a scooter, $5.50 to retrieve a scooter, and then $2 to deploy a scooter. As far as bikes go for Seattle, they are paying $4.50 to swap out batteries, $5 to move a bike, $7 to retrieve a bike, and $2.75 to deploy a bike into the city. And we move back over to Spokane, where they're paying $3 for a battery swap, $2 to move a scooter, and $8 to retrieve a scooter. And then to wrap things up with our last state, we have Milwaukee, Wisconsin. This is a brand new city that I have discovered this last little bit. They are operating Gen 4.1 scooters, so the newest model that we have, and they are paying $3 for a battery swap, $3.25 to move a scooter, $3 to retrieve a scooter, and then $1.50 to deploy scooters into the city. But all in all, that is going to wrap up this breakdown of all of the information that I have been able to find within a very tight window to try and give you accurate data. The biggest one is going to be those averages, $3.08 for a battery swap, $4.10 to retrieve a bike. Those types of things are going to be really important for me to look at and just know how each city is doing as far as keeping up with the averages and how they've changed over the years, because we've definitely seen the highest range on the payouts go down since last year. We can see the data off last year, just taking a quick look at it here. We've got $6 for a charge, $5 for a charge, $5 for a move. In fact, I'll just do it really quickly here for you guys to see. I will just do a quick average of all of this data from last year so we can compare really quickly. Alright, so that one didn't work very well. That's okay. So just off of this really quick average that I did, we can see that charging has dropped down drastically. Moving has stayed about the same, retrieving has dropped down, and deploying has gone up a little bit. As far as bikes go, the average is lower for moving this year and higher for retrieving than last year. So the average has stayed about the same, but the outliers as far as the spread has gone down. So you're not seeing as many high numbers that are outliers as we were last year. But that is going to wrap things up for this video. If you are interested in taking a closer look at this, I have it posted up as a PDF that you can download or view on my website. I'll link to the article down below just so that you can have it and look at it at your own leisure. Hopefully this kind of just gives you a generic understanding of where things are at as far as pay rates. And if you have any questions or comments or concerns or any information you'd like to share, please feel free to reach out to me. You can drop a comment down below. You can shoot me an email or find me on my social media platforms with Instagram and Facebook and Pinterest, but I don't really use Pinterest that much. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for me. I will see you next time. Bye, folks.